And so the school is located in Anakati. Again, I'll talk about that more in a minute. But it's a school mainly for tribal and underprivileged children of India. So for those of you that don't know, India still heavily uses the caste system, which essentially ranks people's order of importance in society when they're born. So they're given a caste, and the top caste of that is Brahmin, and the bottom is tribal. So 80% of the kids at my school are tribal, and then the rest are still considered underprivileged. So most of them are the first generation of literacy in their families and have little to no resources at home to learn. So Vidya and Vanam was started 5 years ago, and those are the kids that I was teaching. And I'll just let you see a few pictures of them real quick. So this one is Chandru, and the one over there is Dinesh Kumar. And then there's me and the students, and then these are the students in the village closest to the school. So the village that I was living in is called Anakati, which in Tamil means the elephants that get tied up. And Anakati was discovered by one of the kings of the British rule in India, and he used to take the elephants from this area for the royal procession. So Anakati is where they would stop and tie them up and let them rest before they continued moving on. So it is a really heavily elephant-dominated area, which is something I'll expand on in a little bit. And Anakati is an interesting village because half of it is in Tamil Nadu, which is a state in India, and the other half is in Kerala, and so there's literally a state division down the village, and with that there's also a language division. So about half of my kids' native language is Tamil, and the other half is Malayali, which is interesting when you're trying to teach a third language to them because none of them speak the same language originally. So on the map, I was living right here, so right on the border of Tamil Nadu and Kerala. And the closest city to that area is called Coimbatore, which only has about 1 million people, which for India is a really small city. So Coimbatore is about an hour and a half away by bus, if you're lucky, but usually closer to 2 or 3 hours. So while I was living in India, I decided to do research on the tribal women because they were really interesting to me. They, for the most part, do all of the work at home, have a day job, and still have a really positive attitude, which I found fascinating. So I decided that I would interview 4 of these women and then turn that into an ethnography, sort of telling the stories of their lives. So the intention of my research is not at all to draw sweeping conclusions within the Irula tribe, but just to call attention to the way that people live their lives there. As of right now, there is no published academic literature on the Irula, and so they're a tribe that have not been talked about before, which is pretty interesting. So for the interviews, I chose 4 different women to interview, and all 4 of them do have a connection to the school that I was teaching at. So 2 of them are coworkers of mine, and then the other 2 are parents of some of the children that I taught. And I had to do all of these interviews through English and Tamil, so I did them through a translator. And the principal at my school really graciously volunteered to do that and transcribed all of the interviews with me. So to sort of give you an idea of that process, we interviewed each woman 3 times, and we would take one of the school's iPads with us, and then